Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Maggie, and welcome to the M&M Debrief, the podcast where Mike and Maggie discuss the top stories in politics and sports and try to make sense of the headlines. Mike, do we have any follow-ups?
Yeah, I got a couple. John Bolton, who we talked about getting indicted a few episodes ago, and looks like it had some teeth. Looks like he ended up taking a plea deal where he had to pay $2.25 million, and he had a pension, he had a forfeit, and it's pretty likely he's going to do some prison time. So
I heard maybe very little prison time, but
he's going to be in a jumpsuit, either for a day or a month or something. So
oh dear.
I don't know. So yeah, it'll probably be minimum security, I guess. But
Right.
I don't think he's
He
going
wasn't
anywhere.
well liked by anyone, was he?
Yeah, he's not a likable guy apparently.
No, he
And
reminds me of the kid who was smarter than everybody else and was kind of not a nice person, didn't have a lot of friends, but by God, he, became very wealthy and
yeah, got
got
himself
ahead.
to the upper echelons of the government and various
Right.
administrations. So, but this arrogance, I think it's more of an arrogance thing where he just
Yeah.
copied down everything and didn't think it would get him. So,
Right.
but he should have known that Trump will always take a shot at you, no matter how trivial.
Yeah.
If you get on his wrong side, he'll take a shot at you. So.
Got it.
Anyway, the guy who beat Dan Goldman, I didn't quite get his name right, is Brad Lander. I just want to make sure that I got the name right on that one.
Mm-hmm.
That's New York 10. And we mentioned the margaritas, the dollar margaritas at Applebee's last month.
Yes.
I think I did the math a little bit. I think I'd mentioned that you could buy 15 margaritas and run your truck. Unfortunately, it's gonna take there's 16 margaritas per gallon. So
What?
the dollar margarita actually ends up being $16 for a gallon of margarita. So the gas, if you filled your car up with tequila and triple sec, it would be $16 a gallon. Sorry, a little math
Honey,
issue there.
I don't think people took us literally. I think it was more figuratively. So you're
Well,
okay.
I'm
You're
an
okay.
I'm an engineer. I'm part engineer. I want to get the data right.
Okay.
So sorry about that.
That's
And then we mentioned
It's
that
still
people
good value.
still a good value. Yes, you get other things. You get gas. You get to drive to your work. You drink a margarita. You get to have a good time.
All right.
So unless you have too many, then the next morning you don't have a good time. So Pete Buttigieg, we talked about him getting swatted last week. Somebody actually called CPS on him. It wasn't a SWAT. So hey, welcome to America, where you can anonymously call a CPS, someone for Child
Right.
Protective Services, and disrupt their life and arguably affect their lives forever. It depends on.
It was
like,
horrible. I believe they were separated. The family was separated for 24 hours. The kids were questioned. The kids are like 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That is just reprehensible. Whoever did that deserves to rot in hell. And I would like there to be I'm telling the Justice Department now and everybody else, you need to take this seriously. This is happening way too much. And the punishment for this should be, tens of thousands of dollars in fines and time in jail.
Right.
We just don't take this seriously. And that's why people are doing it, because they don't get caught and there's no punishment for it. There's no consequences.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in this case it was malicious, but you could have a honest mistake. You could think something was wrong and it ended up not being wrong. And everywhere you go, they say, if you see something, say something. I ride the train. I ride the train to work all the time. They always say, if you see something, say something. So, but this case was pretty sure it was malicious.
Well, anytime it's someone famous, someone who's political, 9.9 times out of 10, it's malicious, it's intentional, it's deliberate, it's meant to do harm.
Yeah, yes, and that's what it is. So hopefully they'll track this guy down. Maybe he did some. Hopefully
those kids will be scarred. I mean, those kids will be scarred. That's just really awful.
Yep, and now there's a certain percentage of people who will believe it's true forever. We call those people morons, but
right.
Anyway, yeah. So this is some of the stuff you can't overcome, even though
Mhm.
they catch the guy and whatever. So, and then of
Right.
course, if he ever he's in the mix for running for president. So, and of course, Fox News will ask him about it because that's what they do. And we'll see. Anyway, we'll see. Anyway, I wanted to make it wasn't a SWAT; it was a CPS thing. So,
Okay.
getting to, I change the name of this topic every week. It's not the war anymore. It's like the new world order. You've got the international, the foreign desk. It's all just one big
It's one big world, honey.
one big one big world. So I'm starting to feel like what is it? The boy who cried wolf. Like every episode I get on here and I go, something's gonna happen, something's gonna crash. It's gonna be a match to the Tinder. Da 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 da. I'm starting to feel a little sheepish here. But
Mm.
I think it's status quo from the last few days. Ceasefire, I think, still in place. A few exchanges of gunfire on a tanker. I think Iran dinged another F-15. They didn't down it, but I think they hit it. Israel is still in Lebanon. I haven't seen much different. There's still some negotiations going on. I think they've been trying to get into Doha, Qatar, to meet. I don't think that's happening. I don't know. It's all about the same from the last few days. So I haven't seen anything behind the scenes. I think it's going to be the same story here for a while. Iran has no reason to do anything different. The
Mhm.
people under pressure are basically us. Israel's not going to change anything. They're going to keep going. Iran is going to just be ready with their firing, and it's us. It's us that's going to have to do something. So we'll see once the strategic petroleum reserves start to die down, and now we're operating the country of the world on 20% less oil, 20% less fertilizer, all this stuff, and we'll see how the markets shake out and who is broken and who's not, and I don't know. I guess we shall see.
Mhm.
I think it's June 30th today, so a few people that I trust. Mr. Global is a big guy on TikTok and Substack who's pretty good on the oil markets. Is thinking end of July, so we probably got another month. But I don't know. No change in that area. I do have one thing. Or a couple things, I guess. Israel did recognize the Armenian genocide. This is something that we talked about Turkey a couple,
Yeah.
couple times. Well, Israel and its quest for never-ending wars and the Greater Israel Project is now looking at its next target, which it knows it's not going to go anywhere with Iran, Turkey. And so I'm of the opinion that 5 years from now, the Turks and the Iranians will be the dominant power there in the Middle East. I think some of the countries that we have known and loved here for the last 70 years are going to be reproportioned. We'll have a new Sykes-Picot agreement where they divide up countries differently. I know that Turkey looks at a lot of these other countries as still part of the Ottoman Empire. Turkey is the remnants of the Ottoman Empire from hundreds of years ago. They look at northern Iraq as part of Turkey. They look at Syria as still part of the Ottoman Empire. Maybe even Lebanon. I think they're really getting antsy to do something. They're in NATO, but they don't really
Mhm.
belong in NATO, or it doesn't seem like it's a good fit for them. And Iranians will get the sanctions lifted. That'll end up happening one way or the other. And they'll be in control of the Strait of Hormuz. They'll probably make some alliances with, Saudi Arabia or these other places, and they're all going to figure out that they're a lot better off, or they're just as well off, I should say, without America there. And that's going to leave Israel holding the bag. And it's just going to be a matter of how much support
Mhm.
we want to continue to give Israel. If the APAC continues to dominate our politics, or if the movement that's kind of starting to be a groundswell in the younger generations of not supporting Israel, if that takes over or not.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got now AOC. I got a thing on AOC here, how she's starting to go corporate. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's been the big firebrand lefty progressive for, I don't know, 8 years or something. How long has she been in Congress? And she's starting to go corporate. She's not supporting any of the DSA people. She's starting to hang out with her pals. However, she's not stupid. She can read the tea leaves, and she knows that AIPAC and Israel is starting to be an issue, at least for Democratic voters. And she actually proposed some legislation to cease and desist all aid to Israel, offensive or defensive or anything. So she's trying to walk a fine line there. So we'll see how that ends up. If the AIPAC stays in control and we keep giving money to Israel, then Israel can probably keep fighting its battles. I doubt that America will have any troops involved in this, but I've been wrong before. So we're just gonna chug along here until something breaks. Prices of food, prices of gas. So we'll see. Israel did recognize the Armenian genocide, which is a slap in the face to Turkey, which has been denying this forever. But the rest of the world is saying, yeah, you killed a 1.5 million Armenians. Stop lying about it. And I think Israel did this as a direct slap in the face. Is like, you're our next enemy, and we got to figure out how to get America to take you out. So
Well,
anyway, that's the next,
yeah.
and how that ends up, playing out, we'll see. Turkey by far has got the biggest and most well-trained army in the Middle East there, even though they're in NATO and people think of them as part of Europe. They're actually, I think, part of the Middle East and Arab. So
Hmm.
so that was kind of a thing. And then just a kind of a general note that the Israeli propaganda of playing the victim just doesn't seem to be working anymore. They will say, we had 6 heroic soldiers killed by the terrorists in Lebanon, forgetting to tell people that these soldiers were actually in Lebanon invading. The support for Israel is just, even amongst Republicans now, 40% of Republicans are against Israel, and so their PR machine is starting to wind down. I got another spot on that in the domestic issues as well. And
Well, they
I don't
got
know.
to get rid of Bibi. And
Mm,
isn't he going to be thrown in jail for corruption? I mean, he actually is
yeah,
very
yeah.
much like Trump in that sense.
Well,
He
and
loves a
if you
war and loves corruption.
but if you go back to before the summer before October 7th, which would have been the summer of 23, I think,
Hmm.
there were riots in the streets against Netanyahu. And if you're riots in the streets of Tel
Right.
Aviv and stuff, they were ready to toss this guy out. And lo and behold, we got October 7th, and yeah, we
And
got
then
the
they're at war. And then he can't, be prosecuted because
uh,
they're at war.
they're at war, right? And
Right.
so there's a conspiracy theory about that. I don't know how true it. If it's not a conspiracy theory, it's definitely incompetence that they didn't see it coming.
That they didn't see October
Yeah,
7th coming. Yeah,
yeah,
I think that
yeah,
all has to be
you,
investigated. And I
yeah,
think they've just moved. Again, he's very similar to the way Trump behaves.
mm.
Distract everybody with something else and they'll forget about it, like the Epstein files.
Which, yeah, we even say much about this anymore. So,
Once in a while.
although I think Thomas Massey is start trying to go out in a blaze of glory here and read off names, or we'll see if he's able to accomplish this. But I think he wants to go out in the blaze of glory and name names, so to speak. But anyway, that's it. A lot of nothing so far. A few bombs here and there, etc., etc. Depends on when the market opens and closes. So you probably want to go long on a Monday and then close all your positions on Friday, because then we're going to do bombing over the weekend. And then by Sunday, he'll say everything's okay. And then you can buy again on Monday and everything will go up, So,
Are you saying that Trump, the commander in chief, is working the market?
yes, we've officially progressed from an oligarchy to a kleptocracy to a corporatocracy now, where the people are just openly, brazenly being corrupt and forget about good governance or anything like that. So,
All right.
anyway, and then Ukraine and Russia. That's where most of the action's been the last few episodes. They are hitting Crimea harder. Russia is making incremental progress on the Donbass part, but Ukraine is making decent progress on Crimea, and
Mm.
I think it's kind of I don't know, I want to say a foregone conclusion, but it looks decent that if they can't take Ukraine, they're going to make it into an island that is going to get, that isn't going to be able to get supplies. And, that's bad. I don't quite know the politics of the people who live in Crimea. If they probably
Well, I
moved a
think a
bunch of
lot of
Russians
Russians
in.
moved in there, didn't they?
Yeah, that's one thing the Russians like to do is they like to Russify whatever lands they take over. So they'll just wipe anything of the previous culture they'll take out and put Russian shit in there. So there's probably a bunch of Russians in there. And so I think people are trying to get out. The bridge, the Kirk Bridge, is not down yet, but it's soon to be. And Ukraine might not be able to move troops in there, but they'll definitely
Uh,
can cut them off. So I don't know. We'll see. And then Russia's making kind of incremental progress in the Donbass, and when I say incremental, I mean like 300 yards or something.
uh,
They're not exactly moving across central France. So the way Patton was taken off in World War One, they're
I was
grinding it
gonna say
out.
it sounds like trench warfare, but
Yeah, it's that trench warfare. Yeah, yeah, 20 feet at a time, that kind of
right.
stuff. So I think Ukraine's been trying to, say, hey, what's the point of this? We're not going anywhere. But I think Putin's got his personal pride involved here, and
Oh yeah.
so anyway, we'll see. I'm trying to think. Other countries are starting to get ready. Finland knows that they're on the chopping block here with Russia. The Baltic states know that they're on the chopping block. Anyway, alrighty. That's all I got. I haven't heard much out of Asia lately. Japan, yeah, their dollar, the
Well,
yen
you
is
know
the
what,
yen is.
honey? It is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
World Cup is on.
I
I
mean, maybe it's World Cup. Yeah,
people
you
are
got
yeah, they're watching.
you
They're
got a
watching
you
the
got a good
teams
you,
play.
you got a good point. Maybe we're taking a 6 week break here or whatever it is, a month-long break for the World Cup.
Right.
Hey, all right, I'll buy that. I'll buy that argument. So.
Okay.
All right. So on the domestic side, okay, I was talking about the anti-Israeli sentiment. Yeah, the Dems, GOP and Dems alike, Israel's losing the GOP. There may be the beginnings of a third party with the DSA people, and I bet you they can find common ground with GOP people who aren't happy with Israel either.
Oh,
You get the beginning seeds of maybe a third party of some sorts, but yeah, the PR is not working anymore for Israel, so they're pretty sharp. They'll probably figure out some other way to keep it
uh-huh.
going, but we'll see. And then I talked about AOC, yeah. So it looks like AOC's kind of going corporate. She's not necessarily endorsing the DSA people, even though that's where she came from, kind of the left progressive
Uh,
firebrand. But she's starting to play it close to the vest and be pals with Hakeem Jeffries, and trying to go corporate here. But she did do that piece of legislation to try to placate some people. So she's an up and comer for New York to take over Charles Schumer's seat. That's challenge him for it at least. So that's kind of why I brought it up.
right. So she'd be doing the right thing, obviously, if she wanted to get into a position of real power.
Yeah, right. So I'd much rather have her be a senator from New York than Chuck Schumer. I think Chuck gotta pack it up and retire off into the sunset. But she
Mhm.
is starting to go corporate, and maybe I'm the one being naive here. Maybe you gotta get in power to be powerful and that stuff.
Right.
So
Play the long game.
yeah, play the long game, that kind of thing. I'd much rather have her in there than Chuck Schumer, but she is starting to hedge her bets a little bit, probably. So, which is probably maybe the smart thing to do. I don't know, from a political standpoint. But I wanted to bring up a scandal that I haven't. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen this. Well, this is actually a 2-year-old scandal, but it's starting to come to life again here recently. Ron DeSantis in Florida. So a
governor
couple
of
years.
Florida. Yep.
His name was popping up as presidential candidate for a while there. So there was some sort of Medicaid scandal a couple of years ago where some insurance companies were overcharging the state of Florida or the citizens of Florida, and they ended up getting. I don't know the insurance company, but they ended up getting caught, and there was a settlement, 68 million, maybe 70 million dollars, something like that they had to reimburse or repay the government of Florida for
Wow.
their overcharging. All right, fine. But guess what? The state of Florida decided to divert 10 million of that into a charity. And guess who runs the charity?
His
His wife.
wife.
So this is money
And
that's supposed
what was the charity, do you know?
hope, something with hope in it. Hope.
Sounds like a
Yeah, I don't quite know what the charity was for or what it does, but this was money that belonged to the state of Florida and therefore these people of Florida. And oh, by the way, oh, and then here's the funny part: the like 1 or 2 million of that got diverted into the Ron DeSantis reelection campaign. From it went to the charity and then it went to the campaign. So
Really?
for those of you who are keeping score, that's referred to as money laundering. So
That is.
yeah, and this all happened. The settlement was a couple years
Isn't it
ago, but
embezzlement?
I think it's money laundering. It could be embezzlement.
Well, if they're diverting funds from the charity and giving it
Yeah.
to
So and it is
whatever, it's against the law.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah, yeah. The settlement was a couple years ago, but I don't know kind of why it's coming up. It's getting more popular now. I maybe he's running for re-election. I don't quite know if he's maybe because he's running for election again or something. But it's come back up to life, and and you don't see boo about it. Maybe because it happened a couple years ago, and but anyway, yay for money laundering. But I think the one small thing, and then we can get into the SCOTUS decisions, or a couple of small. Let me do a couple small things, and then we can finish with the SCOTUS decisions. I think there was an act passed where now you can lose your passport if you have over $2,500 in child support back payments that you haven't made. That I think that's a kind of a new thing where you can actually lose your passport for that.
Meaning you can't have it and you can't leave the country, or you
can't leave the country. I mean, I guess
okay.
you can get out of the country somehow without the passport, right? You can be a migrant into Mexico.
Well, they might
if you
not
want.
let you in. Yeah,
Yeah, it might not let you in. You can sneak over the border, I
wherever you're
guess,
going. Yeah.
wherever you're going, but you'll lose your passport, which is kind of a big deal, I think. And then I saw in Texas now the Bible is now required reading in public schools in Texas.
What?
So Google it. Yes.
What if you're
Yes.
not Christian?
So what? You can read the Torah or the Talmud or the Quran if you want. Maybe I don't know, but yeah. So public schools now require some instruction on the Bible or reading of the Bible or something like that. So much for
Then
separation
they're
of
no longer
church and
public
state.
schools. They're really private schools.
They're now they're now Christian schools, right? So
Right, Christian schools.
no longer separation of church and state there. So.
Right.
But the big news, I think, has been the SCOTUS decisions. They came down with a number of decisions. I don't know if you want. It looks Lisa Cook apparently can't be removed. This is good news.
Right.
There's a couple things that I agreed. A couple of these decisions I agreed with. So yeah, Donald Trump can't just fire a Fed chairman. That would be astronomically stupid. Which I didn't.
Yeah.
I keep amazed at how stupider Trump tries to be, but yeah, so you can't just remove a Fed chairman. So Lisa Cook's going to stay in place. Jean Carroll, they refused to hear her case, so that's the end.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, there's actually two settlements. It's got an $85 million settlement, and this particular case was a $5 million settlement. So now
Right.
he's out of options. He has to pay. He has
He
to pay her.
appealed it. They're like, no, we're not going to let you appeal
Right,
it. We're
right.
not
The
gonna hear ya.
85 million
Go
settlement.
ahead, pay her the money, you billionaire, corrupt person.
Rapist, yes.
Yeah.
So he has to pay her $5 million at least for this one, but the $85 million is still. It must have been two settlements. I didn't quite get the difference between the two of them. I thought it was just one settlement, but so he owes her $5 million. He has to pay it now, and then they're working out the $85 million later. That's still
Right,
that's
'cause
still
part
working
of
its way
the
through the course.
yes, I think part of the first settlement was that he's not allowed to defame her again. And then he went ahead and he defamed her again. And then she went after him again, and then she got more money. So he's going to not defame her again, I would hope.
Well, yeah, because he can't help it because, well, we all know how he is.
I know.
So, but he did get more power to fire the heads of these various, not committees, but agencies. He's got more power
Right, the
to
civil service,
civil
right,
service. Yeah.
which is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he's going to be able to put in all his cronies and do what he wants with the power of those institutions.
Mm-hmm.
The one good thing is that they wouldn't let him touch the Fed. So they protected the Fed because they're not stupid, because they know that Trump would completely wipe out the economy. And but yeah, so that's not a good thing. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm all
checks
for
and balances is going out the door.
I mean, I'm all for fresh blood at various, FTC, FCC, IRS, these agencies that are not cabinet level things. I'm all for fresh blood, but there's still, and he does have his own. All the cabinet members are all his cronies, so president's cronies or president's friends or whatever. So I'm a little less torqued off about this, but of being Trump being who he is, he'll totally abuse it stupidly. So
Well,
we'll see.
yes, that's the whole point. Things like the FCC, I mean, he's just basically going to go in, replace everybody with his cronies who will do
Mhm.
anything he says, and then he will go about tearing down our life, our society, and use it for his own ends. So it's actually really bad.
You'd think there'd be some way. Well, I mean, he is the president, right? The president
That's
gets
why they
elected.
were that's why they were
Gets elected.
intended to be independent.
Mm.
And you couldn't. Someone powerful like a president couldn't go in and replace
Right.
people
Well,
who are lifelong civil servants who don't get paid much money, but,
right.
love their country and want
Mhm.
to help it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Michael, this would be Michael Lewis, who did Moneyball and a few others,
Uh-huh.
the Big Short and stuff. He just recently did a book about the deep state. He didn't call it the deep state, I think, but it was a book about civil servants. And then you're right. In general, most of these people are just scientists trying to do things and not making a lot of money and just trying to serve their country. The opposite side of that argument would be, oh, this is the deep state. This is permanent Washington. These are bureaucrats who aren't elected. We do need some disinfectant here every now and then. That kind of thing. I'm not sure what the right answer is.
Yeah, I think that's a marketing thing, deep
Mhm.
state. That I think Trump came up with that. The truth
Well,
is, the
yeah, I
truth
mean,
is the swamp and the deep state that he was referring to is him. Him and his cronies and all his buddies who are using everything at their fingertips to really just act in their own best interests and to heck with
mm,
everybody else. And that is the problem overall, SCOTUS, is that ultimately what they're doing is shifting all the power into one person, one office. And that goes against everything that the founders were trying to create. It's basically recreating a king like position in the US. You don't have three different bodies who are checking each other and where you spread out power equally among them.
mm.
And that is the terrible damage that SCOTUS is doing. And it's with intent and with deliberation, and it's really awful. It's really a problem.
Yeah, this all started with the Patriot Act after 9/11, where the legislative branch and to a lesser degree judicial branch has ceded control to executive to fight terrorism. So hopefully this will stop. And that's why you keep hearing everybody saying terrorism. That's why terrorism is still a thing. They want to keep the money flowing. They want to keep the executive branch in charge of everything, and they want the legislative branch to acquiesce to all their demands and stuff like that. That's why you're always hearing about terrorism. I think there needs to be a reckoning or a reset, something like that. That's for
Mhm.
sure. I'd like to see the Senate and the House of Representatives get a backbone, stand up instead of waiting till you get primaried and you're going to lose your seat and then you stand up and be tough.
Right.
So
Yeah, so they number one ceded their power, and the SCOTUS gave Trump more power, gave the executive more power. This will go on after Trump
yeah,
is gone,
yeah, this is
right?
this is this has infected
The
everything.
power does
So
not of the office does not go away. And so
right.
they really are, in a way, using Trump and his popularity, his charisma, we'll say, with MAGA, and using him as a Trojan horse to really allow in others who are more competent and intelligent and allowing them to, well, who knows what's going to happen, but it's, uh, it's, it's, uh, it's a problem
For
for the
sure.
future.
Yep. Right. They also allowed states to keep counting mail ballots after the election, as long as they are postmarked before the election, which you and I would think was incredibly obvious, but nothing's really incredibly obvious anymore these days. Birthright citizenship lives another day, which
I
is,
did not hear that. Did they
uh,
actually vote to keep it?
yeah, it came out, I think it was today.
Okay, I was busy. Good to know. Good to know. I was watching that one.
Yes, it does. It did live. They'll keep fighting it somehow. But Unfortunately, temporary protective status, a TPS, to
With green cards.
people with green cards who may have, that lost, or so there's going to be like
Yeah.
300,000 Haitians and
Oh, and yeah, those people who were given special,
bunch of yeah,
dispensation really
yeah.
to be able to
I
come
mean,
over because of what was going on in their countries. We have
yeah,
neighbors,
yeah, and just
lovely
just
people who now all of
mm,
a sudden could be kicked out.
yeah, and just the brutal callousness of, just Megyn Kelly just kind of giggling at this is just, just Jesus Christ, man.
But
Have a
hey,
fuck.
let in the South Afrikaners.
Yeah, we could let in the yeah, the apartheid Afrikaners from South Africa, right? So yeah, and there's like a few cities in Ohio are like, we love these people. They're working like dogs.
I know.
They come to our factories. My business needs them because all the other white people are on meth and they can't even work. So we need someone who's going to work. And there's like 6,000 Syrians that are going to get sent back, and and just the right is just giggling about this. Yeah, our country's great, and your country's a shithole. Yeah, good luck. So, just the callousness of these people is
Right.
just so. And one thing, I'm afraid, honey, I'm gonna have to agree with this decision that they made. States are going to continue to disallow transgender women to play sports in high schools and at various levels. They're still going to allow that ban to take place at the various state levels. I gotta admit, I'm in favor of this. I think it's completely unfair that transgender women play sports against biological women, and the bans are gonna be able to continue. I think it's okay. There's not a lot of these. There's not a lot of transgender women that are trying to play, but it's
No, it's just
just enough
tiny
to
fraction
just a
of the
fraction.
population, but it's good that there's a decision, frankly.
Yeah,
I think the ambiguity was just very disruptive and
yeah.
caused a lot of conflict, unnecessary conflict and
Mm.
concerns, and
I don't.
I'm glad they made a decision.
I don't think these transgender women will be hugely affected by it if they can't play lacrosse or something, or if they have to get into a bike race with men, or in an open division of some sort. I don't think it's going to be a killer for them. Heartbreaking, but killer for them. So I think things will be okay. Anyway, that's all I got on the SCOTUS. I think that might be it. That might be it for me. You got any topics you want to bring up?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, no, I've been busy, and I appreciate all the work you've done bringing up these topics to discuss. So yeah, that's why we have the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes life gets busy. You just need a quick lowdown on what's going
Mm-hmm.
on and why it matters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
good. Well, all right then. That's all we have for today. As always, please follow us, subscribe, or share with a friend.
Thank you for listening to episode 23.
Yeah. Goodbye.